Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Last time I started to explain how can we program the LCD. So as you see here, I explained how the LCD is connected. So as I said, it's connected to port K. Okay. Also, I told you our LCD, it has two lines, right? Two lines. Every line can display 16 characters, okay? Also, I told you what you send to the LCD, you may send data. So I can send data to the LCD, and this data is actually the ASCII of a character, right? So it can be the ASCII of any character you want to display, or you can send command, right? That's what I explained last time. Also, I explained two functions. One function is called put character LCD, as you see here. And this one is used if you want to display a character. And all what you have to do before you call this function, just put the ASCII of the character in register A before you call this function. Okay. Also, I explained another function that's called command to LCD. This one is used if you want to send the command, okay? And I told you last time, you have every command should have 1 byte, right? So we have a number of commands, as I'm gonna explain today. Every command is a byte, and you have to put it in register A before you call this function, okay? So, and this table summarize all the commands we have. So the first command I explained last time, which is the first one here. This is the character I told you about. So you have to send a character. So here, the first one is here. In this one, as you see here, if you put 10000, what this one is gonna do is gonna clear the display and return the cursor to the home position, which is address 0. Address 0, as I told you, we have two lines. This is one line and one line. So address 0 is here, the first one here, okay? So this is what this command is doing. And also I give you example here, how can we use it? So all what you have to do, you have to put number 1 in register A, and then you have to call this function. That's it, right? Number 2, another command I explained, I think last time, also this one. This one, if you put number 2, so this one, this instruction, number 2, returns the cursor to home position, right? Without changing the content. For example, so if there is the word hello written and the underscore is, the cursor is here, then if you execute this instruction, the cursor move to here. And when I write, I'm gonna overwrite starting from the position of the cursor. So this one, it's summarized here as well in the table. So if you look at the table here, okay, so here you put 0001 and here asterisk. So this asterisk means don't care if you put 0 or 1, it doesn't matter. I put 0, so that's why this one becomes number 2, right? So this is the second command. Just, yeah, return the cursor to home position. That's it, okay? Also, next to command, this one here, as you see here, guys, it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, and then 1, right? These are fixed. And then you can change these bits to do different things. So let's see what these bits are doing. So I explain them in the table here, right? So this one means 0 means decrement cursor, 1 means increment cursor. So what this means? It means if I have letter H and the cursor is here, right? If I write letter E, so do you want the cursor to move this way to the right? This is what we call increment cursor, right? For sure, all the time I want it to go this way, because this is if you write text, right? Because I'm writing English. So every time I want to write one letter, I need the cursor to move this way, right? But also you can also ask to move the cursor to the left, right? If you want, I'm not saying you have to do it. Maybe what I'm saying is that maybe you are writing a language, and this language is from right to left, maybe. Also, maybe you want to do something fancy, so that you want to move the cursor every time I do something, move the cursor to the left. So anyway, so you have the choice. Most of the time, we are going to work with this one for sure, because we are going to write English text. So that's why I need the more cursor to move this way. So how I can do that? Yes, this is the bit, this bit here. Let me, yeah, this bit here, guys. Okay, so this bit can control if the cursor move to the right or the cursor move to the left. Okay, and so this is one thing. um, the other thing is the first one here, this one, letter S. So this one is saying, do you wanna shift, display shift, or no display shift, right? So what's the meaning of display shift? What this means? It means, for example, if I have hello this way, right? So it can be shifted. So that's what the meaning of display, right? So it can be shifted to the right, to shift it to the left, and so on, right? So here again, if you just want to write a sentence, you don't need to shift, right? Again, I told you we can do something like this shift when you do something like rotating message, something rotating. So in this case, you want to move the text, shift the text. Okay, so you can do that using this bit. Okay, the other, yeah, so here I'm done with this one. Let's see the next one. So the next one, as you see here, guys, you have to put 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, and then you have 3 bits. Every bit is doing something different. So letter G, this one can turn on and off the display, right? And I told you I need this one in the coming lab, because in the coming next week lab, I'm gonna ask you in the keypad, I'm gonna ask you to use one button, so that when I press this button, I wanna turn, if the display is on, it's gonna make it off. If it is off, it's gonna make it on. You got what I'm saying? So we have only one key. Every time I press this key, I can alternate the LCD from on to off, off to on. Okay. So number one, how can you do that? Very simple. So just the letter G here, right? So if you put, that's what it's also explained here. So letter G. So if I put 0, that means you want to make the display off. If you put 1, you can make the display on, right? But there is important question for the coming lab, right, guys? So in the coming lab, so now all what I have to do, guys, okay, if the display is off, so I have to put 1, right? And if the display is on, I have to put 0. When you press the button, okay, if the display is on, so now I have to make it off. So I have to put 0, right? And if the display is off, so I have to write 1, right? This is a command I have to send. So now the question, it's easy for me to turn on and off, but now I need to know, before I turn on and off, I need to know the status of the LCD. I need to know if the LCD is off or on, because if it is on, I'm gonna make it off. If it is off, I'm gonna make it on, right? So how I can know? Is there any way to know? Okay, the way you have to do it in the coming lab, guys, is you have to define a variable, right? So you have to define a variable, whatever the name of this variable, right? This variable should take one of two values, any two values, right? Just for example, I can use 00 or FF, any two values, but I can use 00 FF, right? So 00 can tell me, I'm gonna say 00 means the LCD is on. FF means it is off. So in the beginning of my program, I'm gonna turn the LCD on, and then I'm gonna put here 00, right? And every time I press the button to change the status, so I'm gonna look at the variable to tell me if it is on or off. So if the variable tells me it is on, so I have to use the command to make it off. I have to put 0 here. Also, I'm gonna change the value of the variable to FF. You got what I'm saying? So this is how you should do in the coming lab. I can say it again quickly. So quickly, guys, what I'm saying, in the coming lab, there is one task. I am telling you, if the LCD is on, please make it off. If it is off, make it on when I press a key, right? So now two questions now. Number one, how I can turn on if it is off, and how I can off if it is on. So turning on and off, this is very trivial. Why? Because this is the command is here, guys. You have to output this command, but for this one, you have to output 0 or 1, right? I told you 0, as you see here, 0 for off, 1 for on. So that's the easy part. Now, how I can know if it is on so that I have to make it off, or if it is off and I have to make it on? How I can know that, right? I told you have to define a variable. This variable in the very beginning, because it is on, I'm gonna put 0, 0. And every time I press the button, okay, I'm gonna make it ff. And also if it is ff, it's gonna go to 0, 0, right? So this variable should capture or should store the status of the LCD, right? So all the time you alternate from here to here, or from here to here, you alternate. And every time I press the button, you are going to ask the variable. If the variable 0, 0, that means it's on. So I have to do two things. I have to put now if, right, in the variable. Number two, I have to make it off by I have to output 0 here. Okay, guys, is that clear? Okay, great. So let's see. Okay, now, yeah, let's here, guys. I was explaining this one, G. What about these two, C and B, right? So for C, C for C means you can make the cursor, as you see here, guys, cursor on or off, right? See, this is for C, right? So if you go to this table here, it has a summary. So C, it means if you put 0, that means you cannot see the cursor. You don't, cursor is off or cursor is on. For example, I want to show you here. Here there is a cursor, so the cursor is on, right? If I make it off, there is no cursor. You cannot see it, right? Anyway, whatever you like. I'm not saying you have to use either way. So whatever you like, you can do it, right? So the last part here we have is letter B here, which can be used to play. Do you need a stable cursor or you need a blinking cursor? So what is the difference? A stable, you can just see a cursor like this one. Blinking means it's gonna, for some time it's this one, and for some time it is gray this way. So it's alternating between this one and this one, right? Again, I'm not saying why you have to make it blinking. It's up to you. I'm just explaining all the different instruction, different commands we have. So if you want to make it like a blinking, it's up to you. If you want to, okay. So this is what this bit is doing. The next, so now I'm gonna move to the next instruction. This one here, this instruction. Again, you can see in this instruction, guys, we have 0, 0, 0, 1. These are fixed, right? The first two, it doesn't matter. If whatever you put there, it doesn't matter, right? So, and now we have only 2 bits. You can change them, and let's see what these 2 bits are doing, right? So these 2 bits, what they are doing, again, I'm explaining them here. So here, S slash C, this means if it is 0, that means you want to move the cursor, right? So if it is 0, if it is 1, that means you want to shift the text, right? Now, okay, so if I want to move the cursor, you want to move the cursor to the right or left. This is the second one, can tell if it is left or right. Okay, so let me say it again. Look here, guys, if I have the word hello, right, and the cursor is here, for some reason I want to return the cursor, I want to put the cursor here, I want to move it to the left, right? I want to move it to the left. What can you do? Okay, number one, I have, as you see here, guys, this bit, I'm gonna put 0 in this bit because I want to move the cursor. I don't want to shift the text, I just want to move the cursor. And now, because I'm moving it to the left, I have also to put 0 here. So the command I have to make, it has to be 0, 0 here. Okay, so it should be 3 zeros, 1, 0, 0, and then it doesn't matter what you put here. Okay, so this is if you want to move it to the left. If you want to move it to the right, just very easy, just this bit here. Yeah, this bit here, guys, can control right or left, right? The direction, right or left, okay? This one here, if you put 1, in this case, you are not moving the cursor. You are moving the text itself. For example, I have hello, right? So this hello, I can move it 1 step. right? If I set this one, if I put one here, right? So every time I output this command, I'm gonna move the text. Text can be to the right also, or it can be the left. You want to move the text right or left, also you can select from this one as well. Okay, so here I summarize what I said here, right? Yeah, so I summarize everything here, guys. I'm saying here, if you want to move, if you put here 0, that means you want to move the cursor. Again, here 0 means it's left, and this is the command you have to output, right? Now, again, if you want to move the cursor, you have to put 0 here again, but this time if it is the right, you have to put 1. So this is the command you have to use, right? So now it's like arrows, guys. You know the arrows in your computer, when you use the arrows to move the cursor right and left. If you have arrow this way and arrow this way, yes, it's the same thing. So this command can move the cursor to the right and move cursor to the left. And actually in the coming lab, also I'm gonna ask you, there are on the keypad, there are two keys. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to use this key, one key to move to the cursor to the right, and one key to move the cursor to the left, right? Again, keep in mind, and that's what you will see in the coming lab, guys. Once for example, when you write, you are gonna write at the position of the cursor, right? So for example, if I have hello this way, right, and then I move to the cursor to here, the cursor was here, originally was here, and then I wrote a command. So every time you do this command, guys, you move it only one step, right? So if I want to move it three steps, so I have to execute the command 3 times. Anyway, so if I move the cursor from here to here, okay, guys, that means next time when I write, I'm gonna write from here, right? From the position of the cursor, right? Okay. So also, I told you this is if you put 0 here. Again, 0 means I want to move the cursor. If it is 1, as I explained, this means I want to shift the text. Again, we may not need to do this one, but this is used if you want to do something like moving text, rotating text, something like that. Okay. Okay. The next one here, next command we have here. Look here, guys. I told you we have 2 lines, right? We have 2 lines. This line has 16 characters, and this line also has 16 characters. Is that okay? Now, I have a command I'm going to explain right now, guys. This command, you can put the cursor anywhere you want. For example, here, this is for sure line 0, and this is line 1. This is location 0, location 1, location 2, until location 15. Also here, this is location 0, location 1, location 2, until location number 15 in line 1, right? Anyway, so for example, if I want to put the cursor at location 2 or 15 or 13 or 11, wherever, can I put the cursor anywhere? Yes, this command can be used. The command I'm going to explain right now. Look how this command works, and also I'm going to explain how we need it in the coming lab. So how this command works, as you see here, guys, you have to put here 1 fixed, you have to put 0 0, they are fixed. Okay, and then here P6 here, you have to select line 1 or line 2, right? So if you put here 0, that means here it's line first line. If you put 1, it means it is the second line. Okay, and in every line there are 15 location, right? That's what I told you. In every line we have 15 location from 0 to 15, right? That is why these 4 bits are can be used to tell where exactly in this line, where exactly you want to put the cursor. You got what I'm saying? Let me give you, is that clear? So anyway, so we have 1 bit B6 to tell if you want to put the cursor in line 1 or line 2, right? And line 1 and line 2, both of them have each one of them has 16 location, right? So here I have 4 bits to tell which location in the 16 exactly you want to put it. Okay, that's why you have here 4 bits. These 4 bits can take a value from 0 to 15, right? So here's 0 to 15. So let me have some example, and that's what you are going to need in the coming lab. In the coming lab, okay, so I'm going to tell you, I have 1 button again. There is 1 button, 1 key. when you press this key, if I'm in line 2, or whatever you want to call it. So if I'm the second line, please move me to the first line. So move the cursor here when I press it. Or if I'm in the first line, when I press it, so I'm gonna move to the next line. So this one can move me from one line to another, right? So how I can do that? Okay, first, how I can put it here. So I want to put the cursor here, or I want to put it here, right? How I can do that? This is the easy part. All what you have to do, okay, is if here I can put 0 if you want to move it to here, and then you have to put here 0 0 0 0. So the number you have to use is, um, let me see. Yes, as you see here, um yeah, 1 1 0 0 0. So this, if which is 80. So if I use this command, guys, so this one is gonna move the cursor to here, right, in the first line here, right? Okay, now what if I want to move the cursor to the second line here? What number I have to use? Very easy. All what you have to do, guys, again, here this time you have to put 1, right? And still 0 0 0. Yes, so it should be, as you see here, 1 1 0 0 0, which is equivalent to C0, right? So if I use this command C0, so I'm gonna move the cursor to here. Okay, guys, remember these two commands because you need them in the coming lab. In the coming lab, so you have to remember this command is going to move you here, and this command is going to move you here, right? In the beginning of second line, right? So what is that what is the programming task I'm going to ask you to do in the coming lab? In the coming lab, I'm going to tell you there is one button here, guys, right? When I press this line, when I press this button, if the cursor is in line 1, please move it to line 2. If it is in line 2, please move it to line 1. Is that okay? Again, there are two parts here. The first part, how I can put the cursor in the second line. That's easy. Just use this one. Easy. Now, how I put the cursor in the first line. This is the easy part. Just use this instruction. So now I have two instructions. One to put the cursor here, the other one to put the cursor here. So this is the easy part. Now, okay, so what you want us to do is, if let me clear here and just yeah. So what I want you to do is, if the cursor here in the somewhere in the first line, I want to move it to here, right? Or if the cursor is here somewhere, when I press the button, it should come to here, right? So that's what I want the instruction to do, right? So that means I have to use one of these two instructions. Okay, one instruction for this one and one instruction for this one. You have to use one of these two instructions. Okay, but before I use one of these instruction, I have to know where is the cursor, right? Because if the cursor is in line 1, I have to move the instructions that move it to 2. And if it is in 2, I have to use the instruction that moves it to 1. Is that okay? So now I have to know where is the cursor. Again, how can you do that? Again, similar to what I explained to before exactly, you can use also a variable. A variable. This variable can have two values, for example, 00FF, right? In the very beginning of your program, the cursor should be in line 1. That's why this variable should be 00, right? When you press this button, okay, number one, to move the cursor to the second line, number one, you should change this value from 00 to FF. Okay, this number one. Number two, use this instruction here to move the cursor to the second line. Is that okay? Now, if you press the button again, I'm gonna go ask the variable. What is the value? If it is FF, that means it is in the second line. Okay, so I have to change the variable to FF, to 00, and to also use this one to move it to the first line. Okay, guys. I want you to understand two things. Okay, guys. If you didn't understand it yet, please let me know, because you will need it. You will need it in the coming lab. So sorry, I'm gonna just answer the phone quickly. Yes, but I have online lecture now. Can you talk? Can you call me later, please? Maybe 4:30. Okay. Yes. Thanks so much. I'm sorry for that, guys. Anyway, okay. So So now I want you to understand two things. Okay, guys. Number one, I want you to understand is how can you move the cursor here to the first line here, or actually any, you can move it to any spot, any location. But here in the lab, I'm just interested to move it to here, right? So how can you move the cursor to here, or how can you move the cursor to here? And that's very easy. Just use this number and just use this number and use command to LCD. That's it. Very easy, right? Number two, what also you should learn, okay? When I press a button, I want to move the cursor here or here, how I can know the location of the cursor, if this is here or here, right? So the way we are going to do it, I'm going to use a variable. This variable should always has one of two values to reflect or to reflect the status of the, or the look, actually the location of the cursor, okay? So from this variable, I can know where is the cursor, right? So because in the very beginning, the cursor in the first line, so I'm going to put 0, 0. Every time I press the button, I'm gonna change it to FF, right? And I'm gonna move it to the second line, right? So always, if the cursor in the first line, this variable is 0, 0. Always, if this variable is FF, it means the cursor is in the second line. Okay, guys? Any questions? You are gonna do that in the coming lab. Any question, guys? Great. I think I finished most of the instruction I have here, but I have another interesting instruction. Actually, it's not instruction. It's a research programming task in the coming in the coming lab as well. So in the coming lab, guys, I'm gonna tell you use one key, like to act like backspace. You know backspace? Okay. So for example, backspace, we have the word hello, right? And underscore here, right? When I press the backspace, so after I press the backspace, I should have hello this way, right? So you have to delete one character. It's like backspace, right? So can anyone tell me how can we do something like that? We don't have an instruction to do that. This number one. So number one, I finished teaching instruction. So we don't have an instruction to do that, right? So I'm going to ask you to do it in the coming lab. Can anyone guess how can we do that? You can do it using the instruction I already explained. So, but you cannot do it using one instruction. You have to use more than one, right? Anyone is interested to tell us how can we do that? Guys, anyone? Okay. I'm quite sure some of you know how to do it, but maybe you are shy to talk in the mic. Okay. Anyway, so I'm gonna explain how can you do it, because this is one of the things you have to do in the coming lab. Actually, number one, we have, okay, let me clear everything and then I'm gonna explain how can you do it. Okay. So number one, that's what we have. Look here, guys. Hello underscore. Okay. The first thing you have to do, you have to write a command to move cursor one step to the left. I already explained this command, right? So I already explained one command to move the cursor to the left. Number two, you have to display at this location, you have to display a space, right? You have to see what is the ASCII of space. As far as I remember, it's 20, number 20, but you need to check, right? So when I do that, so it becomes HELL space and then underscore. Is that okay? I'm done, or I have to do something else? No, you have to do something else. You have to move the cursor back to the left. Yes. So after I do that, hello HLL, and then move the cursor to here. By now, if you see this one and this one, guys, now I made backspace, right? So now very easy, very trivial. You have to use 3 instruction. Number one instruction to move the cursor to the left, right? Number 2, you have to write a space. Number 3, you have to return the cursor back in order to make backspace, right? The good thing, because microcontrollers are fast, you are not gonna see the movement of the cursor, right? It's gonna be very smooth. So you are not gonna see the cursor coming here and then space and then the cursor coming back. You are not gonna see all of that because microcontroller is very fast. Any question, guys? Great. Now, the question, now I'm gonna explain now, guys. So let me tell you what I did so far. I'm explaining how can you program the LCD, right? Very easy. And to program the LCD, so far I explained only two subroutines. Put character to LCD. This one is used if you want to display a character and you have to put the ASCII of the character in register A, right? The other one is comment to LCD, right? And this one, if you want to send a command and you have to put the ASCII of the command in register A, and every command is a byte as I explained, right? So, and I already explained the different commands we have here, right? So now I explain the different codes for the commands. Also, I explain how can we use them. Just to put them in register A, as I made it here, just to put the number register A, just to call this command to LCD, and then everything is done, right? Okay. So now I have more functions we can use in order to program the LCD. Okay. So what the other function you have in assembly? Look here, guys. In assembly, actually, you have four functions. I already explained to two of them. Okay. One to display a character, one for command. I already explained them. Okay. What I'm gonna explain right now is configuration. So we have another one is called configuration for LCD. Config LCD, right? So this one has to be, you have to call this one only one time in your program, only one time to do the configuration, right? So I'm gonna explain it now. Also, we have another one here. This one is called put string to LCD. So if you see the difference, this one is, look here, guys. So this one C, this one is S. So this one put character to LCD, this one put string to LCD. So what is the difference between them? This one is used if you want to display a character, letter A, letter H, and so on. This one is used if you want to display a complete message. Hello, please enter your name, please enter PIN number, a complete message. As I'm going to explain right now, inside this one, we use this one. So sorry, the opposite. So this one is used here, right? Because a message is a number of characters. So this one actually is going to use this one. So now I'm going to explain configure LCD. Also, I'm going to explain put string LCD. I'm going to show you a couple of programs, and then I'm done with assembly. Now I'm going to move to C language, and it's the same thing here in C language. Language is also just a number of functions. I'm going to teach them, and you can just use them. And this will be the end of the LCD part, right? So let me now explain. Yeah, this is what I told you guys, configuration, right? This configuration should be done only one time in your program, at the beginning of your program, only one time, and that's it, right? So number one, this part should configure port key output. That's easy, right? That's what we always do. Port key output, right? And then there is a delay here. I'm gonna wait some time because this configuration takes some time. So here I'm not gonna use it right away because it's gonna take some time to do the configuration. That's why I put some delay here. That's okay. And then here I have now I'm doing configuration to the LCD itself. So for example, if you look at this one, guys, this one I put here 0E because 0E is going to turn the display on, is going to turn the cursor on, is going to turn blinking off, right? Also, I'm going to use this one. This one is going to clear LCD. Okay. And then I'm going to use this one. This one, so this is the default. So what I'm doing here, this is the default, right? So the default here, the display is on. The default here, the cursor is on. Blinking is off, right? Also here, I'm going to program it to move the cursor to the right? So to move the cursor to the right this way, okay? The other thing here, one instruction here, this one, here you set the LCD so that it is 4-bit data to do just a configuration because it's 4-bit data. 4-bit data, as I told you before, we have 4-bit here, right? So, yeah, the data here is transmitted through 4 bits here. Okay, so here I'm just make configuration. Also, yeah, also here this one also I'm gonna configure it two line display. I'm gonna configure it 5 times 8 font, which means every square here should be 5 by 8 point. Okay, so if you go here, yeah, if you see here, it's 5 by 8 points. Anyway, just use this configuration. Now I'm gonna show you now, guys, what I'm gonna show now. is a program. How can you display a complete message, something like that, on the LCD using assembly, right? But before I do that, let me explain the last function I'm going to explain now, which is put string to LCD. Okay, so this one, I told you, this one is used if you want to display a string. A string here means a message, means more than one character, right? Message. So number one, look here, guys, you have to define the message this way, right? So here I define a message, whatever, any name, right? mcg1, any name, dc.b, and then here ece3130 is easy, then between quotation. So what happens here, guys, this one is going to be transferred to the ASCII. So here is going to be the ASCII of E, the ASCII of C, the ASCII of E, all the way, okay, to the end. And now, so here in anything between quotation is going to be transferred to ASCII, right? So you are going to make array. This array has the ASCII of all this character. But if you look here, the last element here is outside the quotation, which is 0. This is outside the quotation because I want to put 0 here at the end. This 0 is actually the delimiter. I think you know what I mean by delimiter. We had one lab to talk about delimiter, right? Okay, so why you are using delimiter here? Because when you call this function put string LCD, I'm gonna give the beginning address to this function, and this function is gonna display until it finds the delimiter, which is 0 in this case, right? So this is how this function is working. So the way this function works, guys, you just to put the beginning address in register X and then call the function, right? So let me show you how I can display something like what you see here, guys. ECE3130 is easy, we like it. Okay, so how can you do something like that? Look here. Number one, you have, because I'm going to display two messages, so I have to define two messages this way, guys. This is the two messages I want to display. Don't forget to put the delimiter. Don't forget. Also, don't forget this delimiter. Don't put it in quotation. It's because if you put it in quotations, so what is the difference between this 0 and this 0? Big difference, right? Because this one is going to be stored 30. ASCII of 0, but this one, because it's outside the quotation, it's going to be stored number 0, which is the delimiter, right? So anyway, so number one, you have to define a message. After you define a message, you have to put 0 at the end this way, right? Number two, you have to call, when you call a function, number one, you have to call a function, configure LCD, right? This way. One time should be enough. Always you have to do that before you use the LCD. You have to call this function to do the configuration. Okay, now the LCD is ready to use, right? So now I want to display the first. So after you call this one, guys, right? This one is gonna clear the LCD and then it's gonna put the cursor here, right? This is the default. That's what I explained here. This is what this function is doing. This function is gonna put the cursor here. It's gonna clear everything. Now I want to start writing from here, right? I want to start writing from here. So the way I can do it, as I told you guys, I have to put this address, as you see here. I'm gonna put the beginning address of this message. I'm gonna put the beginning address this message in register X, and then I'm gonna call put string to LCD. Is that okay? So this function is gonna display starting from the location pointed by register X. So X is pointing at the first, which is letter E in this case, first location. This function is gonna display until it finds the delimiter, which is 0. Okay. So so by doing that, you can see the first message here is written by doing that, right? Now listen to me, guys. I want to tell you something important, maybe me confuse a little bit. Listen to me. If I write in the first message, write and keep writing until it is full, right? If I write more, so the else is gonna move automatically to the second line. No, it's not. This is not gonna happen, right? So if you write more, you are not gonna see it, right? So, and it's not gonna move automatically to the second line. If you wanna move to the second line, you have to write a command to do that, and that's what I did. So here, guys, I have to write this command C0 to move the cursor now to the second line, right? Because if I write, I already at the end here. If I write, I want to write this one in the second line. Okay. So it's not gonna move automatically to the second line. So I have to write a command to do that. So and that's what I did. I already explained this one C0, which is used if you wanna put the cursor here, right? So after this command, guys, let me explain now what I did. After this command, now the first, so this one here, guys, this one is gonna write the first line. So the first line is gonna be written here, right? Because of this one. This one is gonna move the cursor to here, but still nothing is written. The cursor is here. And now I'm gonna repeat the same thing I did in the first message. I'm gonna repeat in the second message. So I'm gonna put the beginning address of the second message in register X. Then I'm gonna call put string to LCD to start writing from here this way. Is that okay, guys? Any questions? So the summary is we have 4 functions, right? That's all what you have to use in C language. You just have four function. You need to know, in assembly, you need to know how can you use them, right? Configuration, just to call it one time in the beginning of your program, and that's it. Configuration, right? Put character LCD. This one is used if you want to display a character, but you have to put the character in register E before you call it. Command to LCD is the same thing. But this is for a command, but you also have to put the code in register E. Put a string to LCD. This one is used if you want to display a string, but you have, and before you call this one, you have to put the beginning address in register X. This number. Also, you have to put a delimiter 0 at the end. So register X has to be here. Register X has to point at this one. And then you have to put 0 because this is a delimiter. This one is going to display until it finds 0. Same thing when I put register X here at W. So this one is going to display from W until it finds 0, right? So you have to put it here. Again, don't put this 0 inside the quotation because otherwise it's going to be stored 30, right? The Ascii of 0. We need to store number 0, which is a delimiter, okay? So now I'm going to explain quickly how this function works, put a string to LCD. So I'm going to tell you what happens. It's just a very easy function. Look here, guys. I have a register X is here, right? I'm gonna get whatever is there, right? If this one not zero, what should I do? I have to use put character LCD. I have to display it, right? And then I have to increment X. I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna check if this one is not 0, right? So I have to call put character LCD because put character LCD is gonna display a character, right? Otherwise, if this one is 0, I'm gonna leave, right? I'm gonna return. That's why this function is here, guys. Look how this function works. Number 1, I'm gonna load register A. So if you look at this instruction here, guys, as I said before, this one is gonna do 2 things: load register A with 0, X. So the byte pointed by register A, by register X, I'm gonna read it put in A. So I'm gonna read this byte, put it in register A, right? And then I'm gonna check if this byte is 0 or not. How? Branch if equal. So if it is equal to 0, go to done. Where is done? Done is here so that you can return. Go to done. Someone can ask me, so how can you use a branch if equal without using compare? Actually, you don't need to use compare here because this branch if equal is going to look at the 0 flag, right? And this load instruction is going to update the 0 flag. So if this value, the value you are reading from here, if it is 0 and you put it, what you put in register A, if it is 0, okay, so actually the 0 flag should become 1, right? And this one is going to use it, okay? However, you can, if you want to use compare, you can add compare. I'm okay. But just it's not needed, right? It's not needed. If you put it, it's not mistake, okay? It's not mistake to put it, but it's not needed because what compare is gonna do already load did, right? Compare here in this one, I only care about the 0 flag, right? Load is gonna update the 0 flag, so why I need compare, right? Anyway, so here I'm gonna read 1 byte, as you see here, guys. I'm gonna read 1 byte pointed by register X, and then if this byte is 0, I am done. Come here and then return. I'm done, right? Otherwise, if it is not 0, so I'm gonna call character to LCD to display the character that's already in register A. So I put it in register A, and then I'm gonna move here and keep looping. As you see here, guys, I'm gonna keep looping here until I find 0. If you don't find 0, it's not gonna exit this loop. The only way, so if you see here the structure here, guys, every time I come here, I'm gonna branch back. Every time I come here, I'm gonna branch back. The only way to exit, this one has to be achieved so that you can exit, right? Any question, guys? Okay. So here I was just playing. So here I displayed the message similar to what I did. So this is similar to what I did. I just displayed the message, and then I want to make like a flashing LCD, right? So here, after I display the message, I'm gonna turn the LCD on, and then I'm gonna wait for some time. I'm gonna turn it off. Then I'm gonna wait for some time, and then I'm gonna repeat again. Keep in mind, guys, when you turn it off, big difference between turning off and between clear, right? So if you write the word, as you will see right now in the video, if I write the word hello, right, and I turn it off, you are not going to see anything. But that doesn't mean hello is deleted. No, it's not deleted, right? So if you turn it on again, you will see hello. You got what I'm saying? Clear is going to clear. Is that clear? So what I'm is that clear? So what I'm saying, don't be confused. Turning off, it doesn't mean you are going to clear the text. It's just it is there, but you cannot see it, right? So I'm going to choose the video now quickly. I was just playing. So again, I'm going to turn on with some time, turn off with some time, and so on, right? So let me, okay, where is the flashing? Yeah. Okay, guys, can you see it? So you can, for sure, you can control the speed. You can make it faster or slower. It's already fast, but you can make it slower if you want. Okay. Now I'm gonna move to C language, right? Um, so summary. That's all what we need in. That's all what we need. Only 4 functions. That's what we need in assembly. How you should know how to use these 4 functions. That's it, right? This is for assembly. This is for assembly, right? So that's all what you need. Only these 4 functions. For C language, it's the same thing, but we're gonna use different functions. So I'm gonna explain the function we're gonna use right now. So let's see the first function here, guys. LCD initialization. So this one should do initialization. This is exactly similar to configure LCD, right? So you have to use this one only one time in C language. It should do configuration. Is that okay, guys? Let's see the second one. The second instruction here, guys, set LCD address. This one is used in order to set the cursor address, where you want to put the cursor, right? But the number you have to use here, guys, is one of this number shown here. If you look here, right? So if you want to put the cursor in this location, you have to put 00 here. You have to send this function 00. If you want to put the cursor here, you have to put 02 here. If you want to put the cursor here, you have to put 08 here, and so on, right? So this one, so this function is used in order to put the cursor anywhere, right? So but you have to use these numbers here. F0F, you have to use 40, 41, and so on. So you have to use these numbers here, right? This number you have to put here, argument here, you have to send it here, okay? So this is one thing. The other thing is, that means, and that's what you need in the coming lab. So in the coming lab, if you want to put the cursor here in the first line in the beginning, you have to use this one and put 00. If you want to put here here, you have to put send here 40, right? Now, next instruction, which is data 8 character, right? This one is used if you wanna display a character and you have to put the ASCII of the character here. So this one actually is similar to put character to LCD. So this one is similar to put character to LCD, right? But here, this character, you have to put the ASCII of this character here. For example, if I want to display letter A, I know the ASCII of A is 41. So I have to send 0x41, right? And so on. So also we have, command to LCD, this one. We have a similar one to command to LCD, same thing. This one is called instruction 8, right? So let's see here. So this one, guys, is similar to command to LCD. This one is used if you wanna send a command to the LCD. How can you do that? You have to put the code of the command here. Okay, someone can ask me, are there a special code in C different from what you taught us in assembly? The answer is no. You can use exactly same codes I taught here. So the same codes I taught here, you can use them here. However, all what you have to do, you have to send the code here. For example, if I wanna send the code 80, you can put it this way. Okay, guys. Now we have another function, this one here, clear LCD. So this one is used if you want to clear the LCD. Okay. Also we have, so you can clear the LCD using this function, guys, or you can put the command here 01, as I explained before, that is used to clear LCD. Okay. Now we have also one function, hex to LCD. So this one here, you can enter a value from 0 to F, or from 0 to 15, and this one should this function number one is gonna convert the number to ASCII. Also, is gonna send it to the LCD. So this is what this one is gonna do. It's gonna convert. So if I put here number 0, so you are gonna see 0 on the LCD, which ASCII 30, right? So this one is gonna convert the number to ASCII and send it to the LCD. But this one can only take hexadecimal numbers, right? Also, I explained this one before, hexadecimal to ASCII, right? So this function, you can put here a hexadecimal number from 0 to F, but this one is gonna return ASCII, and then you can take the ASCII, and you can, if you want, you can do whatever you want to do. For example, you can send it here if you want. Okay. However, why I do that? Why I overcomplicate this one? I already have one function that can do these two things together, right? Which is this one. So what I'm saying, guys, this function, you give it a number, right? This function converts this number to ASCII. Then it's gonna call this one to display it. So actually, this function is doing this one and this one and 2, right? Convert to ASCII. This one is gonna convert to ASCII. This one is gonna display. So this function can do both, right? Anyway, the last function we have here, it's called type LCD. Okay, this one is similar to both string to LCD. So this one is used if you want to display a string on the LCD. Okay, so now look here, guys. I explained these 4 functions. We have similar function in C. Configure LCD here. This is similar to. Let me write them here. So this one is similar to configure LCD in C, right? Also, this one here is similar to put character LCD. This one is similar to command to LCD, right? And this one is similar put string to LCD, right? So anyway, I explained this function, guys. This function should be used to program the LCD. Now I want to show you a program so that you can understand how I can put everything together, right? So now I want to display the same message I did before. So I want to display something like that. It's the same thing I did right now. So I want to repeat this program, but I want to do it this time using C language. Okay. So as you see here, guys, number one, I have to define array of characters, as you see here. So here, I can do this way. I can see, for example, I can call it Q1, any name, message 1 or Q1, any name, equal, welcome, whatever. Q2 equal, whatever. Is that okay? So this is what I have to see in the first line. This is what I have to see in the second line. You remember when you did something like that before, this means, what this means this is a pointer. So here we define a pointer, right? So when I do this one, when I put asterisk this way, that means here Q1 is a pointer, right, for array of characters, right? When I do something like Q2 is same thing, is a pointer for array of character. Okay. Anyway, now let's see how I can display this message in the first line, and then I display this one in the second line. Okay, very easy. Number one, you should not do anything before you initialize the LCD. Very easy. So number one, you have to call this one to initialize the LCD. Okay. Now I initialize the LCD. So now I can start using it. How can you use it? Number one, I want to put the cursor set LCD at. So I'm going to use this one so that I want to put the cursor in the second line. So because here I put number one. If I go here, guys, This number one. So number one here. So the cursor I want to put it here, right? So if you want to put here, you can put 0, right? But here I want to put so this instruction is gonna put here the cursor here, right? And then I'm gonna say type LCD of Q1. So this one is gonna write starting from the location of the cursor is gonna write the message at Q1. This one. So this one is gonna be written here. Similar to put string LCD. Okay. Now I am done with the first one. Now I want to move to the next one. Okay. So again, to do that, you have to move the cursor to the second line because the cursor is not gonna move by its own, right? So again, I'm saying something I know may be confusing. So if you keep writing, the cursor is not gonna move automatically to the second line. It's not gonna do that, right? So you have to do it by yourself, and that's what I did here. Look here, guys. So now I'm gonna move the cursor to the location 41. If you go see where is 41, it's here, right? So now I move the cursor here, right? And then I'm gonna write starting from here using type underscore LCD, writing from here. You're gonna write here. Any question, guys? Everything is okay? Any questions? Okay. So the next week we're gonna have a lab. In next week, we're gonna have a lab in next week. This lab is about how can we use the keypad and LCD. I'm quite sure if you understand this lab and you do it by yourself, I'm quite sure you should be you are gonna learn very well how can you use the keypad and LCD. You should be very okay or very fine on this part. Okay. Now I'm gonna move back because I told you I already skipped some parts. I'm gonna move to this part. Before I forget, guys, what I want to tell you is, number one, after next lecture, I'm gonna move to chapter 4, right? Yes, I didn't finish this chapter. I'm gonna come back to it. The reason I wanna do chapter 4 is about interrupts. Maybe some of you need it in projects. This is number one. Number two, because I'm gonna need it in the labs. Okay, so I'm gonna move to chapter 4 first, and then I already left a couple of things in chapter 3. I'm gonna come back to chapter 3. But for now, I think I already explained here everything. So except the push button. So I want to explain the push button here. So let me do it. Okay, guys. So if you look at let me go back here. I want to show the board again. Okay. Okay, look here, guys. This is our board, Dragon board. So if you look here, guys, we have here 8 switches. These switches are connected to port H, as I explained before, right? And I told you the way they are connected, as I explained before. If you go to port H, if you can find 0, that means the switch is connected. If you can find 1, that means the switch is open, right? So all what you have to do, you have to read PTH, which is port H, and then you have to check if you want to check the first switch or second switch or third switch. All what you have to know is all what I need to know, I want to know if the switch is connected or not, right? So to do that, to know if the switch is connected or not, and so we're gonna have a lab. The coming lab is gonna be about the switches, right? This week lab. So all what you have to know, just to check the bit if it's 0 or 1. That's it, right? So now what I didn't explain yet, and I'm going to explain right now, is also we have 4 push buttons here, right? Push button. Again, I'm gonna explain what is the difference between a switch and push button, right? This is push button is different from a switch. Okay, so we have four push buttons. Number one, I'm gonna explain how can you program them, how can we use them. But before I do that, I have to tell you where they are connected. Okay, so these 4 buttons, guys, are connected to the first 4 bits on port H as well. Port H as well, yes. So if you look at port H, guys, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 8, right? These 4 have only switches, right? But these four, everyone has a switch, okay, and push button, and we're gonna use only one of them at a time. So at a certain time, we're going to use one of them. Again, someone can ask me, so why, if you design your own microcontroller, why I would do this way? Okay, I'm not saying you have to do this way. Again, as I said before, this board is used for education. That's why they wanna they wanna put a lot of stuff, a lot of things on the board. You got what I'm saying? But when you do your own design, you can just, if you need a switch, you can use a switch. If you need push button, you can use push button. But what I'm saying now, the first four bits, okay, or pins, every pin, you can use a switch or push button, one of them, right? So I'm gonna explain how it is connected, how can you use it, and so on, and what is the difference between push button and between a switch. You should know, right? Because if you turn the light of your room, right, when you turn the light, you turn the light on, so it's gonna continue on until you turn it off again. That's what we call a switch, right? But push button is similar to your house, the house bill button. When you press it, you run the bill, you ring the bill inside the house, right? And then once you release your finger, it's off. So you connect. So switch. When I press the switch, so I'm gonna connect it. It's gonna continue connected until I disconnect it. So that's a switch. Push button, it's completely different. Push button, we have here a spring. You have something like a spring here. When I press, you connect it for some time. Once I release my finger, it's gonna return open again. So let me delete it. Okay, so you're gonna open it again. So yeah, that's exactly what happens with push button. So push button, when I press, guys, I'm gonna make a short circuit. When you press, once you release, you are gonna make open circuit. So I want to make a short circuit just for a small period of time. But the switch is different. A switch, you are gonna make short circuit until so once you release your finger, it's gonna continue in connected or disconnected, okay, until you change it. Okay. So anyway, so number one, I'm gonna explain. I told you they are connected. Both of them are connected. I'm gonna tell you how they are connected and how can we use it. I'm gonna tell you how. If you look here at this figure, guys, this is exactly how it looks like. Okay. So here, this is the switch. This one, maybe I'm gonna use another symbol. So this is the push button, as you see here, guys. Okay. So I'm gonna take this point. I'm gonna connect to pH 0 to 4. Sorry, to 3, because we have only 4 of them. So as I said, in the first four pins on port H, we have here a switch and push button. This way connect coupled together, right? So how the push button works, I'm gonna tell you how, guys. Number one, if you don't press the button, you can see here there is open circuit here, right? So and then, okay, I'm gonna, and then this is, okay, let me draw it in a better way. So we have something like that, 5 volt this way, and this part is connected to pH 0, pH 1, whatever. And then that's what I'm telling you. You have here a push button to the ground. So when I tell you, guys, if I don't press the push button, so there is a very little current here. So here the voltage is very close to 5 volt, right? So if you check pH 0 and you find that pH 0 is 1 or 5 volt, that means you don't press the button, right? However, if I press the button, I'm gonna make a short circuit here, okay? And then the current is gonna go this way, and then the voltage here becomes 0, right? So if I wanna draw it, I'm gonna draw it this way. Look here, guys. It is 5 volt. When I press, it's gonna go to 0. When I hold, it's gonna continue 0. This is pH 0, for example, okay? And then once I release, it's gonna go up this way, right? So here I press, here I release, here I hold, right? This it should look, the voltage should look like something like that, right? So this is how it works. However, I want to tell you something very important. Listen to me, guys. Very, very important. Now I told you we have a switch. Also, we have a push button. They are together. And usually, the way you have to do it, you have to use either one of them. I cannot use both at the same time, right? However, some students make this mistake. Please, you may spend, if you don't listen to me, you may spend hours looking for the mistake.
because it's very tricky. Why it is very tricky? Because your program may be correct, but it's not working because the problem is not in the program, right? It's in what I'm going to explain right now. So I want you to focus with me because this may save your time, right? So what I'm saying now, guys, because I have a switch and I have to push button here. This is a push button, okay? So what I'm saying, if you want to use if you decide to use the push button, you have to make sure the switch is open, right? You have to make sure the switch is open, right? So that when I press the button here, I'm gonna make 0 volt here, right? When you release, you are gonna make it 5 volt. However, if you forget, and this is student did it before, and they wasted a lot of time to find the mistake, right? Um, if you let me clear everything again. Just leave me 1 second. Okay, so if you forget this one connected, that means there is a 0 volt here. This 0 volt is coming from the switch, right? So if you press or you don't press, you are not gonna make a difference. It's still BH0 is 0 volt all the time because zero. That's not what I wanna do. What I wanna do is when I press, it's 5 volt all the time. When I press, it goes to 0. When I release, it comes high. When I press, it comes to 0, and then we release come here high, and so if so every time I press, you should generate like a pulse this way, right? However, if the switch is connected, so the 0 is gonna come from here, so this one is not gonna do anything, right? If you press or doesn't press, it doesn't matter because the zero always coming from the switch. So uh, very simple. All what you have to do, guys, if you want to use the push button, you have to make sure the switch is open, right? If you want to use the switch, you don't need to care about the push button. You don't need to care about because it's by default it's open. By default, it's always open, right? It's closed when you press. Just if you want to use the push button, if you want to use the switches, please don't press on the push button, and then everything will be okay. Anyway, so now I'm gonna explain how can we use the push button, what are the problems related to it, and so on. Okay. Yeah, so this is what I'm explaining here. Okay, so um yeah, so that's what I'm saying, guys. This is when I press, it should be 5 volts. The push button should be 5 volt. When I press, it's gonna go to 0, right? And then once here I hold, as when you hold, once you release, it should be become one again. This is one press, one time, one keystroke. Every time I do keystroke, I should get something like that. Is that okay? So now the question is, how I can use this one in a program. If I want to know if the user press or not, how I can do that? Very simple. All what you have to know, guys, is you just to go. If you find it 0, that means the user pressed, right? Press the button, and then you have to wait until he releases. Okay, and then you can do action after that, and then you can check again. As long as it is 1, that means the user didn't press, right? Once I find it is 0, that means the user press. So every time, so I have to check every time I find 5 volt, that means the user did not press. If I find it is 0 volt, that means the user press, right? So usually the way we have to do it, guys, is um, once the user press, once it is 0, right? So I have to wait until you release to take action, right? Because if you don't do that, uh, computers are microcontroller is very fast. So maybe you press one time, and then I'm gonna come here, I found it is 0. Okay, then I come after time, I found it's also still 0, right? But the time from here to may be very small time. It may be 1 millisecond, 4 millisecond. For sure, there is no human being can press 2 3 times in just a very this very small time. That's why I have to wait until you release it. Okay. Anyway, so here, what I want to explain here is we have um, we have here we have a problem. This problem is called switch bouncing. Okay, so what this problem is and how can we solve it? Okay, this is a this is a common this is a common problem in all mechanical switches. So what is the problem? I'm going to tell you what is the problem. Here I'm telling you the switch has to behave this way. It is high once you press, it's gonna go to 0. And then when you hold 0, once you release, it should come up high again. I'm telling this is what uh, it should happen, but actually it's not gonna be something like that. It's gonna be something different. Okay, what's gonna happen is, guys, is gonna, once you press, there are some bouncing here, and then before it is stable, becomes stable. Same thing when you release, there are some bouncing here before it is stable. So this is, you are not gonna get this one. That's what you are gonna get. Okay, that's why we call it bouncing. So what bouncing mean? Bouncing means, because remember, this string has this switch has a spring, right? So what happens? We have two contacts. We have two contacts this way, one contact and one contact, right? Because of the spring, right? When you open, before the switch comes to rest, the switch has to make connect, disconnect, connect, disconnect for some time, very small time, and then before it opens. Same thing before it closed. Okay. So actually, so let me summarize what I said. That's what I'm expecting. The signal should look like something like that. When you press, it should come low, and then come up this way. This is one keystroke, right? But in reality, I will get something like that. This is when you press, right? There are some bouncing here. This bouncing can last between 5 to 20 millisecond. And then here, when you release, it's not going to open right away because it has a spring. This spring is going to make bouncing. Okay, so this is what you are gonna see, or this is what is gonna happen. So what is the problem? Okay, I don't care much. So what is the problem if I'm gonna get a signal like that? No, there is a big problem. What is the problem? Okay, I'm gonna tell you now what is the problem, and then I'm gonna say how can we solve it. The problem is, guys, every time you do a keystroke, right, I'm gonna do one action, right? So here, what's going to happen here again, because microcontroller is fast, right? So microcontroller is going to come here. Microcontroller is going to take this is like one keystroke. You press again, this is a second keystroke, and so on. So every time I see something like that, I'm gonna consider it like one keystroke, one keystroke, one keystroke. So you only press one time, but the microcontroller is gonna is gonna consider, or is gonna think that you pressed 4 5 times. Okay, so actually, someone can tell me, but maybe I already, is this true? Maybe this true. Maybe I already pressed 5 6 times. Okay, no big difference, right? Because here this is a very short time, right? Just a 5 to 20 millisecond, very short time. There is no human being that can press that very fast, right? This is what I'm saying. What is the, I can press and then I release, press and release. Yeah, you can do that, but this one is going to be long time, right? If there is no human, so that's what I'm saying. How I can differentiate between mechanical bouncing and between alternating between on and off this way. Okay, the way we can do it, guys, the mechanical bouncing should be very fast, between 5 to 20 millisecond, right? So there is no human can do that. Okay, so this is the problem here. If you don't solve this problem, what's going to happen? You press only one time, but the microcontroller will take 3 4 actions, because the microcontroller thinks that you pressed 3 4 times. So how can, this is what we call switch bouncing problem. This problem exists in mechanic, only in mechanical switches, because of the spring. The spring cannot open right away. Also, it cannot close right away. It has to bounce sometime before it reset, right? So so how can we solve this problem? There are different solution here in the slides. I'm going to explain two solution. One solution we call it hardware solution, and also I'm going to explain software solution. So for the software solution, that's what we're going to use in the course. I'm going to explain how can you do it, but let's first talk about the hardware solution first. The hardware solution, guys, as you see here, with this is a push button, right? So with the push button here, I'm gonna put a capacitor this way. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why we use this capacitor this way, right? I'm gonna tell you why. Because as I told you guys, when you press, it's gonna come here, and then there are some bouncing, right? So what's gonna happen here, when this one comes high, the capacitor. So let me I told you when I press, guys, there is some for some time connected, disconnected, connected, disconnected. Okay. When this one open, so the capacitor is gonna start to charge, and you can see it here, right? You can see here because of the bouncing. So now it is high, and now I pressed, right? So it has to come this way, as I told you, but no, it's not gonna be this way because there are some bouncing here, right? So how we can cancel this bouncing? How I can cancel it? By putting a capacitor here. Wow. So the capacitor can cancel it? Yes. You know how? I'm gonna tell you how. Because when the signal comes high, the capacitor is gonna charge, right? As you see here, right? However, because the time, so here at this point, guys, because of the bouncing, we are gonna come high, right? That's so it's gonna charge. It's gonna start to charge. But because this time, the time of the bouncing is a small time, the capacitor is not gonna charge high enough to be taken as one. Okay. So as you see here, guys, as you see here, yes, because of the bouncing, I'm gonna charge because every bouncing here is just for a very little time. I'm gonna charge little bit, as you see here, but still I'm gonna rate it zero, so it's not gonna have any impact, right? So because in order to get it logic zero, we can have a range, for example, from 0 to 0.3 or 0.4, something like that. Okay, so because the time of the bouncing is a small time, so you are gonna charge increase the voltage little bit, but still zero. I'm gonna consider it zero. And then now when it is closed, so I'm gonna discharge, as you see here, right? And this is another bounce here. So I'm gonna charge, discharge. Okay, so this is how we can cancel it, okay, by putting a capacitor here. Anyway, there is another idea. Okay, this is the idea we're gonna use in the code. And the idea here, if you come here, guys, if you see here, guys, once it is low, I'm gonna wait for between 20 milliseconds just to bypass this part, right? So here, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write these 3 instruction in my code. What these are doing? I'm gonna tell you what these are doing. The first one here, guys, once it is 0, I'm gonna wait 20 milliseconds just to bypass this one. Okay. Then I'm gonna wait until it becomes 1. So here I'm gonna wait until the switch is released. So if you see here, guys, as long as it is 0, I'm gonna keep looping here. So I'm gonna keep looping here until you release. Okay. Once you release, I'm gonna come to here to wait another 20. Right. So if I put these 3 together, okay, then I'm gonna take one action. Okay, let me say it again. Number 1, once the switch is 0, I'm gonna wait 20 milliseconds just to bypass this part, right? Number 2, I'm gonna wait until you release this way, right? Number 3, I'm gonna wait another 20. After that, I'm gonna take one action. Is that okay? So this is a software solution. We can do that. Now I have very interesting program. I'm gonna show you the bouncing problem in a video. So I'm gonna explain it quickly. So what I wanna do here, guys, every time I press a button, so here, this is the LEDs, guys. In the very beginning, the LEDs, this LED is on. When I press a button, I want to shift the LED that's on. So next one is on. So okay, let me explain in a better way. So what I'm saying, these are the LEDs, guys. Okay. In the very beginning, this one is on. When I press the button, next one is on. When I press a button, next one is on. Until once I come to the end, it's gonna come back again, right? So you are gonna shift the LED. So how we are gonna do it? Okay. So here, this is just a configuration to port B, port H for LEDs and so on, right? And then the program is here. What I'm gonna do, guys, is, as you see here, I'm gonna say I'm gonna check the switch here. As long as the switch, if the switch is 0, as you see here, guys. So here, if branch if set, so if the switch is 0, I'm gonna wait here, loop as long as the switch is not pressed. Yeah, sorry, if it is 1. So if you don't press the switch, I'm gonna keep looping here, because I told you it should be 1. So as long as it is 1, I'm gonna keep looping. Okay. Once it is 0, so I'm gonna come here. when it is 0, when you press, right? So when you press, as I said, so if you don't press, I'm gonna keep looping here. Once you press, I'm gonna come here, right? So once I come here, number one, I'm gonna wait to 20 or 25 milliseconds, as I told you, and then I'm gonna wait until you release. Then I'm gonna wait another 20 or 25 milliseconds, and now I'm gonna take action. So now you pressed. What action you have to take? I'm gonna shift port B. Because every time you press, I want to shift the LED. So I'm going to shift to port B. By shifting port B, you actually shift the LED, and then I'm going to check when you do shift here, guys. Now, if it is not 0, if the result, if port B is not 0, I'm going to come here to go move to the beginning again. But what if it is 0? So if this one is 0, if 0 means you shifted LED, right? You shifted the LED all the way to the right. So now I have to return it back again. I'm sorry, I think I made a mistake here. What I explained here, if we shift it to the right, but actually the program is about shifting to the left. It's the same thing. It's not a big difference. So let me tell you exactly how it works. So guys, in the very beginning, this one is on, right? When I press a button, I want to shift this one to next one. When you press a button, I want to shift it to next one. And once port B is equal to 0, if it is not 0, I'm going to come here. If it is 0, I'm going to come here, so that I have to return it back to beginning here, right? So here, this is, if you just give me, sorry, 1 minute. Now, if I don't write the bouncing code here, what will be the problem if I don't write the bouncing code, guys? If I press one time, so it's going to be shifted 3-4 times, right? So it's not going to be, why? Because of the bouncing, because it's going to shift here, it's going to shift here, it's going to shift here, and so on, shift here, and so on. You got what I'm saying? So this will be the problem. Okay, guys. So sorry, I can choose a video just quickly, just to show to you, just quickly. Yes. Part 3. Look, let's see this program here. Look here. Each time I press the push button number 3. Look what happened. Look how it is very smooth. Look how. So every time I press one time, guys, it shifted one time, right? Now let's see if I remove the bouncing code. You will see the bouncing code. When I press one time, it's moved 3-4 times. You will see. I can deal with the bouncing problem. I can de-bounce the switch. If I cancel, I'm gonna come to this part, the part that has the part that will cancel the bounce. What will happen? You will see the big difference. Here I just cancel the bounce. Look, when I press one time, guys. Look what happened. I just pressed one time. But look what happens. So look, every time I press one time, it's shifted 3-4 times because of the bouncing. Anyway, guys, thanks for today. So next time I'm gonna start chapter 4, as I told you. Okay, and then I'm gonna return to chapter 3 again. Okay, see you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.